Welcome to the VA Today pod and videocast with your host, Gail Alexander, a podcast about VAs, for VAs and businesses looking for the right VA to help to start grow their business. Find the right VA today and visit VA Today on YouTube and ava-ni.com to find out more about VAs and what they can do for you, and get in touch with the virtual assistants you need today.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the VA Today with me, Gail Alexander, and today I'm joined with Charlotte Wibberley of VIPVA, and where is it, your VA trainer, coach, speaker and chief liberator.
Yeah, gotta love it, haven't you? in the spirit of allowing people to call themselves whatever they want, which I'm a great believer in. Mine's all about liberation, so setting the people that are currently employed and feeling trapped free.
Yeah, definitely. Call yourself whatever you want. Empress, I don't know, I'll think of that for later. So anyway, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to have a chat with me and talk all things virtual assistant.
Not at all.
So basically, I wanted to start off with, when did you actually first come across the term virtual assistant? When did you actually find out what the heck a VA was?
Yeah, okay. So the term VA was completely unknown to me when I worked in my corporate job in the city. So I worked as a PA for about 12 years in London, and only really thought about leaving that job when I had my son. Because I guess, like many people that follow the self-employment route, I suddenly wanted something that was going to be more flexible to allow me to be mum as well as being, Charlotte and doing this this career and stuff. So yeah, I kind of looked at other things that I could do that were going to be flexible enough to have my little baby around. And it was actually my husband that had suggested being a VA. And at the time I kind of thought, well, what's this VA thing you're talking about? I had absolutely no idea about it at all. The whole concept about not being outside of my boss's office or in that hub just was uncommon to me. And it turns out that he's in insurance, but someone in the insurance industry was actually working with a VA themselves, and he made that introduction for me to this VA. And yeah, we went for a coffee. It turned out that, as it always does in the VA industry, that she lived just around the corner. And we ended up going for a coffee, and she talked to me a little bit about the experience that she'd had over the last few years. And it really inspired me to think, actually, yeah, I can use the skills that I've amassed over the last 12 years and create something flexible on my own terms.
Yeah, and I think that's such a common story. It's like, predominantly it's women have had their family, and it's like time to get back to work, and they want to get back to work, and of course, why shouldn't we?
Yeah,
it's so difficult. And how do you do that? And I think the VA industry has been a revelation to me and many other women in allowing us to do that, and to use our brains that we've worked so hard to get to a certain level to do. And I think that's one thing that the business world maybe needs to know and to hear about. These are women quite often with very high levels of skills and many years of experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, maybe it's for another podcast another day, but I think those companies need to understand, I guess, by their inflexibility, that they're actually they are encouraging these people to go out and seek their own businesses, and actually potentially they're losing their top talent by not being flexible enough to support on the large part women, especially when they're around something as transitional as becoming a parent. So absolutely.
Yeah, it's trying to stop that brain drain of women, but as well, men, you do have now, in this day and age of equality, men taking parental leave as well. Yeah, so absolutely, this is a great way of doing it. So if you were ever talking to businesses, which you obviously do a lot, how do you describe what a VA is and what they do, or what they can do?
So it's been one of my missions really with VIPVA to kind of talk and engage with people that aren't VAs about what VAs actually are, and to kind of help them to understand not only the types of people that do it, but also the different services and potentials that there are out there for working with a VA. So usually I'm describing the VA industry as this huge thing that is, I think I would say something like it covers all manner of sins, because VAs are not just PAs, and I don't mean just in that regard, but I mean not all VAs have come from a PA background, and certainly when I entered the market I thought they did, but they don't. There's ex-HR consultants, there's people doing focusing on social media, there's people focusing on tech and various other bits and bobs. So really, almost VA is a way of working to me rather than a job title. I don't think there is a job description for a VA because it's so varied. It's more of a flexibly supporting other businesses on your own terms. That's kind of how I talk about it.
Yeah, and that's a good way to look at it. It's more a mode of working rather than an actual title, because it can be anyone. It can be like an accountant, it could be a videographer, something like that. They can all do it virtually. So it's any kind of service that your business may need. There could be somebody out there that wants to work in a virtual way, and that's really what a virtual assistant is.
Absolutely. And I think where there's sometimes some problems is that people assume that a VA is always a virtual PA, which couldn't really be further from the truth, both in ways of working, but also, as you know, with the things that you do, Gail, couldn't be further from that sort of traditional PA role. So it's kind of just engaging with people around that to sort of say it could be any of these different things. It's more about a way of working. Yeah.
And so when we look at businesses, and it's quite often it's maybe startup businesses, but not all the time. You have maybe large companies like PwC, but when somebody's going out to look for a virtual assistant, what is the best way to find a VA that suits the company that you work for, your business, and maybe the work style, the sort of culture that business has? What way would you just tell any business to find their VA?
So I think, like, to take PwC as an example there, what they have, although they are one of the large organisations that are embracing virtual working, what they have is virtual employees. So I think, they're taking that first step, but they're not quite there fully with working with what I would call VAs, which are VA business owners. But I think in terms of finding the right VA, although I'm a great believer that although you obviously need somebody that can do the job, i.e. has the experience and the skills, you also need to be thinking about the things that they need in place, both to run their businesses professionally. So contracts, yes. Insurance, yes. Managing data properly, yes. Having a knowledge about GDPR. I mean, you'd be surprised the number of people that don't know anything about GDPR and listen to other people rather than them. And the other thing is making sure that from a personality point of view, so from a relationship point of view, that you feel it's going to work, because in the end certain pieces of software could be learned, but actually if you're bringing someone into your business to help you to achieve a goal, you're going to need to ensure that you've got that personal relationship going on, and that's an actual fit before anything else, otherwise it's likely to fail.
Yeah, or sour, and it can be a very difficult relationship for both parties. So do you suggest any particular way that a business does that? Maybe would they have a trial project or a certain length of time maybe working with a VA?
People do trials, and different VAs feel differently about that. I guess, if you think about other business owners like accountants and bookkeepers and things, you wouldn't necessarily go to them and ask them to do a trial to make sure that sort of is all in place. Obviously, we through VIPVA are known for introducing people to businesses looking for VAs to our vetted members. That's part of what we do. But I think really, if you are at the start, if you don't want to invest in coming and finding someone through someone like us, then the best thing you can do probably is to get a recommendation. So go to somebody and be specific about the different tasks that you are looking for your VA to do, not just I need a VA, but I need a VA to do X, Y, Z, and get some recommendations. Speak to several people, talk to them, ask them different questions about their business and why they started their business and the types of clients that they work with, and really start to have that conversation up front. Because I think determining the personality bit is really, really important. You can tick a box on the other skill sets that they're going to need to do the job, but I think really investing time in finding someone you can get on with is important.
Yeah, definitely, because it's such a relationship that there's such a level of trust is required. So, and when you say like getting a recommendation, word of mouth is such a big thing in the virtual assistant industry. Despite it being virtual, still that face-to-face or phone call, that sort of immediate sort of connection is still quite important. And conversely, like, would you say, you know, that's maybe the way for businesses to find a VA? Is it similar process for a VA to find a business? You know, so if you're going out to look for work for customers, how would you go about, or how would you suggest that VAs themselves go out and vet the business? They might be the right type of client for them, but in hindsight, you know, maybe working with them wasn't the right thing. So how does a VA vet a potential customer?
Well, I think it starts right at the beginning, right? Where you go, well, who are the type of clients that I'm wanting to work with, and why are they the right type of clients for me? And if you have a clear picture about who you're trying to attract, who you're trying to work with, then you can relatively easily qualify or disqualify potential clients when they come in. I think there is also, from the VA side, that element of speaking with a client and getting a feel for whether you think they're going to be the type of client for you. And you know, it's horses for courses. There's different just because somebody's not a good fit for you doesn't mean they won't be a good fit for somebody else. But I think that's why it's really important that you always speak to somebody on the phone or meet them or something. You've got that interaction before you start working with them.
I guess it's like
prevent the problem.
An interview process for everyone, I guess. And as you say, you know, somebody that's not necessarily right for you may be right for another VA, and the referral system that sort of seems to run throughout the industry is fantastic. Absolutely, because I think if you've got a strong peer network of other VAs, not just even knowing names, but more stronger than that, being able to really recommend someone, then it does them a favour, potentially gets them a client, but also it does you and your reputation a favour as a connector and somebody that is well connected within the industry and can, you know, is bigger than their parts. Yeah, as you say, it does reflect well on you, but it reflects well in the industry, and then conversely, the industry reflects well on you. So it's a continually circle. So yeah, one of the missions that you would state on your website would be like to elevate the profile of VAs, ensure exceptional standards, and to change the perception of the industry. So when you're talking about standards, what exactly for prospective VAs, what standards do you think that they have to meet at a basic level?
So I think, you know, referring back to what I was talking about earlier, it kind of goes back to the beginning of the mission for VIPVA, and that was because at the time it still is a really unregulated industry, and we're really trying to move towards regulating that industry. But we were finding that associate VAs in particular were sort of saying they could do something and they couldn't. They wouldn't have a contract in place. If something went wrong, they had no insurance. So it is kind of, there's a baseline level of going, what do you actually need to run your business safely? And that actually is applicable to all online businesses, not just VAs, which is where we've got our accreditation for things like data protection, insurance, contracts, you know, if you need it, then anti-money laundering, if you're doing any financials for your clients, things like that. And then I think above and beyond that, it is going, well, actually, what would you expect a professional online business owner to have in place? So some social media profiles for sure. Doesn't have to be all of the social media platforms, but if they're on them, are they active on them? Are they out there marketing? Have they got testimonials? All those types of things are kind of building a picture for what is a professional online business. And I think if VAs as an industry want to be seen as the professional online business owners that they need to play a part in making sure that they are all elevated to that standard.
Yeah, and again, that's taking time as well as doing the work for your clients, but you also kind of have to do it for yourself. When you're talking about the online marketing, you still have to keep yourself relevant. You have to keep yourself up to date with the newest technology, software, training, and the way of doing things, but you have to be seen to do that as well. So it's important to blog, to create content, and if that's too much, then hire your own VA to get them to do it for you.
Precisely. It's funny, I was having a chat with a lady the other day that's a VA that said, you know, I don't know what my client's looking for from a VA, because I don't know what they're struggling with as an online business owner. And, you know, there was me like banging my head against the wall and saying to this lady, but you're an online business owner, so what do you struggle with? Where are the gaps in your knowledge? You know, what's your time frustration? All of those types of things. VAs are online business owners themselves. So if they're ever struggling to think about what their clients' problems are, focusing on where their problems are will give them a really good start to that.
And then try and get somebody to help them fix that.
Exactly.
Yeah, somebody to do my accounts.
Absolutely, or your blogging or your social media or whatever it is, because it's unlikely that you as a VA business owner are going to be want to do absolutely everything in your business. And it's what you're telling your clients to do, outsource the things that they can't do or don't want to do. So practice what you preach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just have the money to outsource would be great at them. We'll be working on that.
Yeah.
So because you're at the VIPVA, you do referrals for businesses looking for a VA. Are there any specific skills at the moment that are really in demand?
We survey our community every year, and the results of this year's survey are shortly going to be coming out. But it's amazing because every year I think that the diary management will make a comeback, and it's really not. And I think that might have something to do with the fact that business owners are kind of, you know, managing things on their phone on the fly. It's things like membership sites, building and creating or managing membership sites for clients, social media, yes, always. Content creation, e-marketing, so newsletters, e-commerce type things like that. So it is all like almost getting quite technical, because again, it's a gap for business owners. They might be a florist or a coach, and they know how to manage their clients or how to do what they do, but they don't necessarily know how to do some of the automation or tech behind what makes their business run. So I'm seeing a huge upsurge in sort of the requests for technical stuff.
Yeah. So when you're talking about tech stuff, are there any particular tools or pieces of software that, I guess, the likes of MailChimp, that kind of thing, or ConvertKit along those lines? Are there any particular tools? Pardon?
Infusionsoft massively. Lots of clients are moving to that. I use it myself actually, but so I know the power of it. But they are looking for VAs that have skills in Infusionsoft, because again, they've got these applications that can pretty much run their business, but they don't want to be the people, or they haven't got the time to be the people that run that application. So and Infusionsoft consultants are 70, 80, 90 pounds an hour. So I think they are looking for, obviously not someone that can do what that consultant can do, but someone to plug the gap in between that can really get involved and manage their application. So definitely things like Infusionsoft, WordPress, website stuff, always. Someone that knows their way around the back end of the website is really, really handy. And then it's things like Kajabi and niche plugins for WordPress, like Optimize Press and things like that.
Plugins. Yes, I love WordPress. I get lost in it, and at least I have some slight bit of technical coding that when I go into the actual code, I can have a wee bit of an understanding, but oh crikey, it is huge. There's so much there. It's
like going down a rabbit hole, isn't it? And you do something and then you go, oh, but I could change that and all that. And
it's like, if I change that, does that work? And I'm like, oh no, what have I done? So yeah, I don't want to do it. And then sometimes like, no, better not. It's like,
thank God for the revisions wind back function where you can go back and go, back up.
I love that tool in any software. It's the same as Pinterest. I will get lost in Pinterest for anything.
Yeah.
As you're talking about those specific tools and software, it's one thing that I've asked quite a few VAs, and there's such a different sort of viewpoint, would be the niching down, if that's even a proper term. But what's your view on too niche or not too niche? That is the question.
Too niche or not too niche? That is the question. When I'm training people, I always get them to focus on, I don't like the word niche, but like an avatar or an ideal client, somebody. And that's not because I think that you should only have like one particular industry or job role that you work with. I think if you reflect later down the line on the kinds of clients that you've had success with, you'll see a pattern in their personality type, their way of working. Are they creative or whatever? I think you'll see a pattern on that. But I think the ideal client avatar is incredibly useful for your marketing. And I think you need somewhere to focus your marketing. And that's not to say that you can't work with other people that fall outside of that, you know, ideal client, but it just means that you've got a person that you're marketing to. One of the mistakes I made very early on in my VA journey, so right back in 2012, was that I, you know, had this beautiful website. Beautiful, I created it. It probably wasn't too beautiful, but it was beautiful to me. And, you know, everything was there, and I sat there for ages thinking, nobody's clicking through, and I couldn't quite work out at the time why it was, but actually on reflection it was because I kind of said, hi, I'm a VA and I can do this, and I help small businesses, like, come to me. And of course I wasn't appealing to anyone because I was trying not to niche. I was just being for small businesses, and that just doesn't work. You need to get clear about who it is that you're trying to attract and really speak to those people's pain points and problems. So you know, if it is that you're working with mums running online businesses, I'm picking this easy example because that's me, then you can be saying, you know, are you tearing your hair out because you're trying to fit your business around the school run and all of that. And when you start to give clear examples, you'll get those people sitting up and going, oh yeah, that person's talking about me and they must be the right person for me, and it connects in a different way. So I guess yes and no. I'm not a fan of going, I only work with accountants. But equally, I think you need an ideal client avatar.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I think it kind of makes it easier for, as you say, marketing purposes. But then I guess for some VAs, they're not entirely sure that what they want to do at the start. They have skills in quite a few different areas, so that they'll concentrate on that. And then I guess it's finding that sweet spot of all these lovely terms of where, you know, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? And what can I add real value to? And when you can work that out, I guess that's where you niche down into. And in some respects that might be in a skill, or it might be offering lots of skills to a specific industry.
Yeah. And I think that's the flip side of the coin, is going, if you are a specialist in Pinterest, then, and you don't necessarily know who your clients are going to be, then really focusing down on the fact that you are a specialist in Pinterest or LinkedIn or whatever it is will then be helpful as well, because again, it's qualifying people when they get to your website rather than leaving it too general.
So talking about your other sort of side of your business, your like training and coaching for VAs themselves, do you think it's a good idea? Well, obviously you do, but do you think it's a good idea for VAs, any business, any freelancer, to have like a coach or a mentor or a trainer to help them grow their business, to give them a bit of direction?
Yeah, I think any business needs somebody to be helping them in terms of the strategy, and to be helping them in terms of being someone to confide in around their business. And of course, we've got the two sides to it. So yeah, we've got the training and the coaching. So for people right at the outset that are going, actually, I know how to do skill sets, but I've got absolutely no idea how to set up and run a business successfully, then they can do that, and that gives them everything they need. And then equally on the other side, we've got the existing VA business owners, and they are looking for exactly that, somebody to help them with mentoring or coaching or being that other person in their business. And that's where we've got our membership community, because through that we do things like challenges and group calls and buddying up and all that sort of thing. So that kind of fills that gap for them. But you know, I've been in business for 6 years, and I've still got a business coach that I rely on, because I can't have all the answers to everything that's going on in my business, and sometimes it's really hard to see the wood for the trees. So having somebody that can, even if they're just one step ahead of you or in a different industry, that can help you to see the wood from the trees, it's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, so I think that sort of second pair of eyes, or that second opinion, is all very valuable, and somebody to hold you accountable to those goals.
And I think it's helpful for it not to be a family member, because my husband is also a business owner, a completely different business to mine, but he doesn't get what I do in the same way, and he's too close to me personally. I think having somebody that's removed from any emotion around a situation and is looking at it as another business owner is really, really helpful.
Yeah, I think also, because I'm conversely, if my husband says something to me, I'll take anything as a slight, and it's not meant to be. I know it's not. It's just me putting my pointy head on, as we would have described it years ago.
I think it's just husbands, but sometimes they have no tact.
just can't take any advice from them. So you were talking about when you first set up as a VA, and the sort of the challenges that you came up when it was wondering why people weren't clicking through on your website. What other challenges did you have to set up as a business? Was it finding the right skills, or was it finding the customer? Was it setting up as a business owner? What did you struggle with at the start?
All of the above. And confidence and time and money and energy, because I had a small child and then another one. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. I didn't know what I was doing is the I guess the short answer. And it wasn't until I started working with a business coach that she really helped me get my stuff in order and to give some sort of advice around how to market to people. Just had no idea how to do any of that. And then things grew from there. And obviously now I'm in the position that I can hopefully help other people to do that because I've been through it. But I think, it was a challenge at the outset. It was more around like the time to work with a baby at home. And energy when you just didn't want to get out of your pajamas, which is most days basically, but then also around that missing piece of going, I just had no idea how to run a business, so I had no idea how to do any of the accounting stuff. I had no idea how to market to clients. Was really, really tough. I just had no idea how to connect with them. And of course, at the time, I didn't, because I was in my pajamas 90% of the time, I didn't want to go out to networking meetings or anything because I looked like a state. People would have thought, who the hell is this person? It was really trying to find ways to connect with people online, so that I could stay in my pajamas. I talked about pajamas a lot in this, I'm sorry.
Well, if it needs to be, like last week, that's pretty much what I lived in. So,
got to have good pajamas when you work at home.
It needs must. And so again, it's like, as you say, it is a hard thing, and it's a confidence thing as well. So I think that's where, and obviously you will as well, with the sort of VA groups and forums come into their own, because as you say, people fail and they'll fail all the time, but that's not a bad thing, because you'll learn from that and you learn from your mistakes, and practice makes perfect, and all these different sayings that everyone has, but they're so true. And having someone to go to in a forum or in a group and to talk to, there's no silly question.
It's absolutely, and your point actually there has made me think that one of the other things that I really struggled with, and that I really try and hammer home to people now when I talk with them, is the isolation. So I'd gone from working in for an insurance company in the city, and where I sat in this bank of desks, I had basically 4 large Australian physiotherapists that sat around me. These guys were loud and crass and everything, and it was great fun. So I had this noisy environment I was used to getting my head down and working in, and all of a sudden here I was in these 4 walls, silence, no interaction with people. And I hadn't appreciated how much that would affect me from a sort of mental health and happiness point of view, but also just like not having anyone to talk to. Like, suddenly the postman became my best mate. It's so loud, I'll be like, hi!
It's like, oh my goodness, who is this woman?
Yeah, started ordering online just so that I get someone come to the door and I go, another human.
There's another business, a sort of friend.
Yeah, help an online business owner, go round and be their friend. Yeah, but joking aside, I really missed it. So that's where I think for me, the sort of bug of wanting to create an online community of peers, a safe, like little online community of peers, came from, because I needed it. I really needed it.
I think that touches on a point that's luckily and quite happily it's very relevant in the news today, and it's all about mental health as well. And I don't think a lot of people think that when they go into this kind of business as a freelancer, as a person working from home, that it does take quite a bit of toll on your mental health. And having gone through like something similar myself after having my children, you really do need to have somewhere to have an outlet, so you don't get cabin fever, so you don't scare the postman, or you don't go mental and start talking to the walls or the dog. But as you say, joking aside, it is quite an important point, and I will be talking to Jo Hamby later on. I'm talking about the isolation and motivation and all those issues that VAs may come across.
It's kind of Absolutely, and I think that's such an important point. Again, like having had my own mental health struggles alongside my business journey, which have been part of isolation, and then I guess on the other side of the coin, flip side of the coin, there's the burnout piece as well. Because again, I think there can be a perception that you run your own business, you're on your laptop in front of the telly, isn't it all hunky-dory and fabulous? And sometimes it is, but equally it can be really challenging, and you work more now than I've ever worked in my life, even though in theory I work less hours, but I don't somehow. And you know what it's like. Anyone watching this knows what it's like. It's your business and it's your baby, and you can't switch off in the same way that you can switch off from an employed job. So there's kind of the isolation piece, and maybe that can have an impact on confidence or how you feel about yourself. But equally there's the other side, when you do hit success, that goes to burnout and feeling. I think it can be particularly prevalent in VAs and PAs, because we've been those people in businesses that say yes to everything and then get everything done. And we feel unable from running our businesses to either say no or to hand stuff over, because we're meant to be the super women, right?
Do everything at any time. Yeah, we're always available. Yeah, it's not always possible. And I think you talked about celebrations there. You know, the isolation means you miss out on celebrating and your achievements, and that is something that any business owner should do as well. And so to have that peer group of where you're able to go and shout, oh, I did this, I got this, and yay, not just then showing off, but just celebrating your success. You kind of need somebody to do that, otherwise what's the point as well?
Absolutely. And without judgment, that's the thing, to be able to do it without judgment. So exactly that, you don't feel like you're going, oh, I'm showing off to post this in a group of 1,500 people or whatever it is, but to have a community where you can go, this thing happened and I feel really good about it, and then other people can go, wow, and it can inspire and bring other people along. So
so talking about challenges, what about goals for VIPVA? I know that you have your retreat coming up next year. What goals do you see personally for yourself in the next couple of years, and for the business as well?
So the business, that's a good question. I like that one. So for the business, at the moment, I'm kind of trying to make it grow quite organically. So, and it has, the membership community is really growing, getting quite a few trainees, and then we're sort of doing other new initiatives like doing the retreat next year, which I can't wait for, and other virtual summits and things like that. So kind of just, I guess, copying what we've done this year, keeping things going, keeping the momentum, keeping on banging the drum about VAs and the worth that they bring. We're also doing quite a few bits and bobs, connecting with the businesses that are going to be working with VAs as well. So that's a bit of a focus for this organisation for 2019. Personally, and probably on the flip side of the coin to that, this is my last year with my baby at home. My daughter Evie is going to be 4 in December. She'll go to school next September. So I am also conscious from a personal point of view that this is my last, what will be now 11 months that I've got where I can potentially spend more time with her at home. So I'm trying to figure out, the honest answer is I'm trying to figure out how much I invest in the business or in my daughter currently. So, because, you know, I'm still a mum. Yeah.
And as you say, my son's going to be 4 come Christmas, or well, November as well. And it's trying to find that balance of, because your business is your baby as well, and then your real babies, and it's trying to find the balance between the two. And that's really important, because you need to bring your whole self to your job and your whole self to your family, because then you'll perform better in both those roles if you do. So it's finding that happy balance is the easiest.
Well, my family have always been my big why, and Alex, who's my 5-year-old, he'll be 6 in November, which is next month. Where's this year going? But he was my big why when I started the business, and my vision was always around being a mum that could be at the school gates as well as doing my work. And, you know, kind of that time seems so far away, and now that's come and gone. And I think it's just really hammered home for me that, you know, I'm done at 2 kids. So
I hear you.
Done. But this is the last opportunity I've got if I do want to just have a bit more time at home with her, with my daughter. And so yeah, just it's always a balancing act, and trying to integrate work and family life is not easy, but the pluses make it worth it.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess when you're talking about that, it's sort of a final point that maybe talking to businesses that, okay, VAs, they work from home and they have their kids at home and they're working. It's not actually like that. VAs are very strict in their time. They'll be compartmentalizing, or they'll be slotting times in that this is when I do my work, this is when I do family stuff. And they're actually probably a lot more productive than maybe they would have been in a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah. Yeah, and it always kind of angers me when I see the stats from people about the number of VAs that successfully work with their children at home, because it's just not the experience I've got. Is, you know, the VAs that I am connected with, rightly or wrongly, their children are in childcare, or it's that they're doing things in a different way. It's not kind of like baby in arm whilst trying to do stuff. And I think some businesses can have a bad feeling about that because they feel that as a VA business owner, you're maybe not focusing on the task at hand.
Yeah.
So I think promoting the fact that, you know, we are an industry that is professional and takes our clients and our business seriously is really, really important. So the more people that are working towards that, the better, in my opinion.
Yeah. So then lastly, because talking about the school run, I have to go and do one shortly.
I know. I've gone.
So lastly, talking about one piece of advice, maybe for a prospective VA or somebody that's thinking of joining a VA, or a piece of advice for any business that's maybe time poor and cash rich, how, you know, what would be the piece of advice to give to anyone listening?
Sorry, my cat's video bombing right now, which is why I look a little bit distracted. Let me go, and I'm going to have to let her out, otherwise
don't worry.
There we go. Oh, the fun, isn't it? It's not a child, it's a cat.
Something, yeah. Or a husband.
Yeah, or a husband. Oh my days. If there's one piece of advice I would give to anyone that is starting an online business, it would be, don't expect it all to happen at night, or try and run before you can walk, because it takes time. Everything takes time. It takes time to establish yourself as a credible business. It takes time to understand how to market. It takes time to build testimonials. Everything just takes time. So I think expecting, you know, to leave a job one day, if you are leaving a job to create a business, and suddenly to have this sort of thriving business the next, is unrealistic. Give yourself the time to build things up slowly, and don't expect too much of yourself. You know, you're doing great.
There's quite a few terms, and I need to think about how to say it politely, but it takes a serious set of gonads.
I think that's fine. Absolutely, it does. It takes massive balls to start a business, especially if you are leaving a job, and you are, you know, you're jumping from it rather than being made redundant or being pushed, or whatever the situation is. I think making the conscious choice to start your own business takes massive balls. It does. But if you take the time to do it right and invest in the time, and if you need additional training or support or whatever it is, if you take the time to invest in that as well, then you're going to get it right, and then that will be, you know, profitable and fabulous and wonderful. Yay!
You give yourself a pat on the back for doing it.
Absolutely. I speak from experience, that advice, because genuinely, as like in everything in life, I was like, I'm going to run a business. Why isn't it profitable now? Like, started it a week ago. It's just,
a week.
Be patient is what I'm trying to say, but you've got to give it time. It takes time to build up. You know, and every sort of step that you take back as well as a learning experience. You're not gonna, you know, you learn from every failure there is. So
failure's good.
Absolutely.
It's one thing we need to learn. Well, thank you very much for talking with me today and talking all things VA. I really appreciate the time that any busy mum takes to talk to me, my madness and my rambling on. But I hope that we see VIPVA going from strength to strength with the retreat and web summits, and as well as the sort of shared goal of raising the standard of the VA industry, and to make businesses realise, you know, how good the industry is and how valuable a resource it is. So I thank you very much for your time on that.
No, thank you for asking me.
And I hope to speak to you soon then.
Absolutely. Enjoy the school run.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.